Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Dimes and a Token. I'm one of your hosts. Officially, new name is called Babyface Bruck because I look like an 11-year-old child. Correction, 1-year-old. After a good little shave, things happen, man. You start to develop, start to grow backwards, that is. So, before we get into the episode, I need to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by the amazing, the most wonderful facial hair products on the planet, Death Grip Wax. Death Grip Wax, we recently went to the 2023 Mustache and Beard Competition, that episode is going to be dropping here soon, guys, so be on the lookout. Most amazing products. They won 6 championships. If that doesn't tell you what you need to know about Death Grip Wax, then you probably shouldn't be growing facial hair because you don't deserve it. But if you're looking to tune up your facial hair game, especially that mustache, you want to get that nice little flex in, post in those curls, you want to pull that nice little English long needle, this is the stuff that you want to use. They're the number one stuff in the game, and they have amazing beard oils and all kinds of different things that you can utilize to take your facial hair game from a B+ to a fucking A+++. All right. So whenever you have a chance, make sure you guys use the promo code 2 Dimes and a Token, all caps. You get 20% off every single one of your purchases at the website Death Grip Wax. So in this episode, guys, I'm super excited for this one, man. This guy was truly an awesome dude. He let us come into his personal arcade to shoot a podcast with him. His name is Mr. Cyrus Fees. He's actually an announcer for the bare knuckle boxing, and just an awesome guy, man. The moment we reached out to him, he said, absolutely, come on down. We ended up meeting him in Tennessee at his personal arcade that he owns, him and a partner, and it's called Vision Quest. And when we went in there, we got to get an inside scoop of the new redesign they did, and it was just an awesome experience, man. It's a total virtual reality type arcade, and just truly an awesome experience. But sitting down with him, man, understanding his journey, he had an awesome story to tell. He was an awesome guy, and you guys are in for a really, really good treat. And if you have not, please go check him out on his socials, man, because like I said, he's got some awesome highlights. He does some great content, especially with him being the announcer of bare knuckle boxing, and it's definitely one you're not going to want to miss. So other than that, before we get into the episode, make sure you guys go in, hit the subscribe button, help us out, right? We need you guys. We need the love to continue to pour in. Love us so that we can love you and bless you with more content as we travel across the country to try to get the most interesting stories that we can for you guys. So be sure to go in, make sure you guys subscribe, leave some comments this week. We need you to put your spice of the week in the comments on the YouTube page. So go in there, drop your spice of the week, and I think that should be it. Yes, that is it. So without further ado, make sure you enjoy Mr. Cyrus Fees. So tell me this, what is Bucked Up?
Yeah, it's an energy drink. It's one of those evil energy drinks.
Yes. Like the Monster 666 thing, right?
No, they're great actually. I mean, it's it's like one of the number one sponsors for bare knuckle fighting championships. So I'm all the time talking about it, and I support it and I drink it. Yeah. My wife just jumps on me if I drink too many.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Get over that 40 spot, and you got to be careful with yourself a little bit. But
that's amazing. So it tastes phenomenal. So this is our official drink of the pod.
Yes, the Rocket Pop.
Well, one day maybe we'll have sponsored by Bucked Up.
It's possible.
Drink of the pod. It's possible.
Very, very possible.
Anything happens.
Shoot your shot.
There you go. Awesome, man. So first and foremost, I know we've been kind of chatting, setting things up, but this place is incredible. So thank you so much for letting us come in here and just check this place out. Like, we're gonna have some B-roll as we're going through the podcast, but this place is insane.
Yeah.
So big reason, man. Another thank you for coming on the pod.
Yeah,
no giving us your time. Big reason I saw you're involved in so many different things, man.
Yeah, a few things.
And let's get down to brass tacks, dude. Like, where did you start out? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, in the Midwest. Yeah, dude. I mean, I love the Midwest. There's something about it that's real cool and like homey, and like you think of like hometown stuff and you think of the Midwest, right? Mm-hmm. So I grew up there, and yeah, it was good. It was good, man. You know, good values, all that sort of thing. Yeah. But you know, definitely a lot of struggles, but you know, it is what it is.
I feel like that'd be like what you see in the movies a little bit. Is it like? Is it really just straight?
It's
openness?
Wonder Years stuff, right?
Yeah, that's
Have you ever
awesome.
seen Wonder Years?
Yes,
Wonder Years?
dude. That's one of the greatest shows that ever existed. I love that.
It is. Yeah.
So what? How did you get started into the steps of your career? Because I think I'd heard you say earlier, like you loved the idea of commentating and being involved in that type of stuff. So how did you get started into this?
So. Man, always just wanted to be the center of attention. You know what I mean? I think that's more than anything. I didn't really have it in my head to go into broadcasting until I think I got into high school. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I had a voice, and I had a few teachers and had a few people in my life that were like, okay, you could do this. Like, you have a good voice, and you should go on stage. You should do some drama, and you should do some broadcasting, and you should do radio. And it just sort of all snowballed, but just all about being the center of attention, and you know, and trying to stand out, and had it in my mind I was going to be famous by 25. Like that was nice. That was the jam. Like that's what I was going by forever until I hit 25 and I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was like, all right, we got to kick this thing into high gear.
Kick it into high gear. Nice. What's the so like you said, past the age of 25? What's the first? Or what would you call the first big break that you got in your commentating career or broadcasting?
Wow. Yeah, so there's a few things. So I like to say that I manifested a lot of my destiny. Like I made.
Hey, there's a big word on our podcast. That's a big word. We had quite a few guests that have said manifestation. Manifest. I'd love to hear that. That's amazing.
Well, you know, I went to school for it. So I went to a school about 30 minutes from here in Greenville, Tennessee. Very small college named Tusculum University. I want to say it's the third or fourth oldest college in the United States. My dad went there. I just kind of followed his footsteps because I was comfortable with the area, and I came down here. I went for broadcasting. They did not have the best broadcasting program, admittedly. I didn't like come to a college visit. I was never in the position to like, you know, do college visits out of state. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
So I was just, you know, I was on the phone with them, and they convinced me like, hey, come to our college. And they were very persistent. I was like, all right. So I went. And the broadcasting program was not great. Of course, it's all about what you make of it. But it's not like when I graduated, I had a shoe-in to go to the news station, or I had a shoe-in to go to this network or that network. I never had that. So when I graduated, I was like, all right, how do I get myself on TV? How do I make this happen? And I had started doing ring announcing for fights and for pro wrestling because I always liked that job. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to WWF one day, or I'm going to go to UFC or whatever. Pretty much WWF at that point. And I was like, how do I do this? So I created a TV show, like a public access show here in the Tri-Cities of Tennessee. And it was just covering fights. It was just like the fights that they would have on Saturday at our local arena, or they would have at different arenas or gymnasiums. And I was like, it would be cool if there was a TV show that covered this stuff and we could get sponsors for it and that sort of thing. And I gave myself TV time that I would have never got if I just waited around or sent in applications.
Wow.
I was like, okay, here's 30 minutes every week of me on TV hosting. And that's where it started. And that's where I started making connections. So it all started with a very little local access show that we were able to get nationally syndicated and fight and scratch. And that's what we did.
Dude, that is incredible, dude.
Sure.
That's amazing. So then obviously it kind of leads up to a little bit more of where you are. And we were walking in here, I got to ask you about that. You interviewed Rhonda Rousey. What are some of the coolest people that you felt that you've talked to before?
Oh man. I've talked just in the last few years, I had a podcast. I still have a podcast called In This Corner with Cyrus Fees.
Nice.
And it's like the biggest legends in all of mixed martial arts, and like old school UFC and new school and bare knuckle. And I've been able to interview a lot of guys from Tito Ortiz to Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn.
Wow.
the list goes on and on. Mayhem Miller and, guys from bare knuckle, Eddie Alvarez, just so many big stars in fighting.
Yeah.
Which has been really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, a lot of fighting people for sure.
I love
which
that.
is cool. Yeah, I love being in the space. I've gotten to know these guys over the years, and I can just call them, and we make things happen. Chael Sonnen, just so many cool guys.
That's amazing. Chael Sonnen would be someone that'd be interesting, especially with his personality set and how aggressive he is.
I've worked with them so many times. Like I did a wrestling show that Jeff Jarrett started back in like 2016, and another one of those things that I manifested.
Yeah.
I shot my shot, dude. And like,
that's incredible.
I started showing up and text messaging him, figuring out his number from different connections, and then just blew him up all the time.
Yeah.
And like showed up at an event he was doing and wouldn't leave him alone. Like I waited till the end of the event and finally talked to him. And it's like, finally, he's like, all right, I'm going to give him a shot. This kid won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
And that's what he told everybody. He's like, this is the most persistent person I've ever met. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, if you don't, you get lost in the shuffle, especially in entertainment. Yeah. If you're not willing to be aggressive and you're not willing to put yourself out there, then good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, because we've interviewed a lot of people, especially in the business front. And actually, last week's episode, we were talking to a really good friend of mine. His name is Steven Batman. That's his legal name, Batman. Okay. But he works in the real estate game. And he's had the same advice that he's given to the guests and things like that. And then interviewed like an owner of a dealership, another friend of mine named Sid, and he said the same thing: persistence and consistency.
Yeah.
If you want to accomplish anything in your life, whatever it is your dream is, like it's definitely possible. You're gonna run into a ton of failure, but if you stay consistent and persistent, you will get there eventually, right?
Sure.
So I love that. That's amazing, dude. So now, switching over, when did you get into actual bare knuckle announcing?
Oh, so that was just in the last 2 years. I mean, my name's gotten around over the last 10 to 12 years. I mean, I've been overseas doing work. For the longest time, I was Mr. International, right? So
nice.
27 countries, 6 continents, for all kinds of different fight promotions, like startups, did the UFC for the Contender Series on ESPN.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And my name just kind of got out there over the years. I'm a consistent voice. Like I'm a great ring announcer. I hate saying that. I feel cocky. But I'm a consistently great voice. So ring announcing, hosting, play-by-play commentary.
Yeah.
I can do every one of those things, and interviewing. I can do every one of those things on a broadcast. And there's very few guys in our business that do all of those things at a high level.
Yeah.
And this isn't just so you guys, this is some big ego. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But I can do all of those things very well if you put me in that position.
Yeah.
So, I've ring announced for UFC. I've done play-by-play for Eagle FC and like 1,000 other shows overseas. And then I've hosted for Bare Knuckle for like the last 2 years. So I do a little bit of everything for each one of these shows. So it got around to Bare Knuckle. I showed some interest in them. They called me and they're like, hey, we have an opening for the host position.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hell yes, because Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is the most exciting combat sport in all of combat sports.
Yeah.
There's nothing more exciting than what we do on a consistent basis at BKFC.
Yeah.
It's stand-up fighting, it's bare knuckle, it's bloody, it's exciting, it's quick rounds, it's fast, just ADD entertainment. And that's what we give people. And we give high-level fighters come into our ring and test out what they can do. And some make it, and some do one fight, and they get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Which I understand. I would never want to get in there and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a tough environment to get into and then stay into.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's been 2 years, and really, it's kind of become my primary show now. I used to always have 3 or 4 shows that I worked for, and for somehow, some way, I didn't get double booked. Like, it would just work out. So, like, I'd be working for EFC in South Africa, and I'd fly to South Africa and do a show. And then it would work out that I could go to Abu Dhabi and work for UAE Warriors, and it would just work out. Like, everything worked out for years and years and years.
Yeah.
The last few years, everything is conflicted with bare knuckle. And when that happens, as an announcer, as a commentator, you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
All right, this is conflicting. Which one am I going to go with?
Yeah.
Because if you give up your spot, like, let's say, this is a good example. UAE Warriors over in Abu Dhabi. It's one of the shows I work for, and BKFC. They have the same date, same weekend. I can't be in both places.
Yeah.
So you got to make that decision.
Yeah.
And when you're an independent contractor, that's scary because I've done this before. You make a decision and sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And you should have chose the other one.
Yeah.
You know, but bare knuckle has become my priority. I see the future in it. We're growing at a rapid rate. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to hitch my wagon to these guys. I know them very, very well. They're consistent. They're fighting like hell to get their place. And I want to be a part of that.
That sounds awesome, man. I love that. I love that you've done that, because that is actually really, really cool. Because once you kind of, like you said, hitch the wagon a little bit, and you really start like paving that pathway, you're starting with a company that's starting here and competing against guys like UFC.
Sure.
And when you pave that way, like you have a lot of pride at the end of a 10-year venture. You know what I mean?
You absolutely do.
That's really cool. So,
and they appreciate it too. You know, they know what I'm doing. And they've taken care of me financially for that. Like, hey, listen, we know you're going to be missing this many shows this year with your other show. We'll take care of you for that. And they've been such a loyal company. And I sound like a company man and I sound like a shill, but they look after me, you know, and they're loyal. They're Philadelphia guys. I'm not even a Philadelphia guy. I'm like, I'm not one of those guys, but they are, and they're loyal as hell.
And that's hard to find, man. That's hard to find, honestly, because, I mean, either way, you're talking about this is a sporting event, but it's still a big part of this is corporate America. And honestly, like, I've worked in corporate America for 10 plus years now, and I got to tell you, man, that's not easy to find. So I'd tip my hat to you on that. So so what would you say is the coolest event that you've gone to in your illustrious career of all these? I mean, you've been around the world, man. What would you say is like, or you can give me the top three if you have them. Top three events that you've been able to attend just based on the location, the experience, the environment, the fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, with bare knuckle, bare knuckle's right on top right now, and I guess it's fresh in my mind as well. But we did a card out in Denver earlier this year, and it was the biggest event that we had ever done in bare knuckle history. Yeah. So, you know, on top of it, we had Mike Perry and Luke Rockhold fighting.
Oh, man, that's wild.
Yeah, Ben Rothwell was fighting. Just all these major names. Eddie Alvarez fought Chad Mendes. Incredible fight, one of the best fights I've ever seen. But we were in Denver, Colorado, and it was just the biggest one. And then in the main event, Mike Perry ends up just wrecking Luke Rockhold, broke his jaw. Luke Rockhold was like, I'm good. All respect to Luke Rockhold, but he was like, I'm good. I'm all right. You know, tap, tap, I'm out.
Yeah.
But after that, you know, right before the co-main event, maybe the third to last fight, here comes Connor McGregor.
Yes, dude. I was going to say, I watched that Chad Mendes fight.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of Chad Mendes.
Sure.
I loved him, bro. So, yes, that's awesome.
So, Connor shows up right before the Mendes fight.
Yeah.
And we had heard rumblings like, we think Connor might be coming. And we're like, oh, shit. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, and he literally gets on his private jet, shows up mid-event.
Yes.
And, bro, when he walks into a room – and I've seen this twice. I did a show up in Northern Ireland for a show called Brave, and he showed up there too, right? As soon as he walks into a room, everything stops.
Wow.
It could be the most exciting knockdown, drag-out fight in the ring, and everything stops, and your eyes are focused on Conor McGregor.
Wow.
Could you imagine, right? Like commanding that much presence, and that's what he does. So he walked around, and dude, he was like in it. He was like just pacing around outside the ring. They kept showing him on camera like he was into the fight so much. And, you know, the main event hits, Mike Perry wins, and Mike Perry is another one of those manifest guys, right? Yeah. He's so ballsy and he didn't give a crap. Yeah. And he goes, can I get my face off with Conor McGregor? Whoa. Now, this was not planned at all. In fact, we kind of had an idea that Cowboy Cerrone was going to get into the ring, right?
Really?
Yeah, and Cowboy, cool as shit. He saw Conor was there. He saw the circus that was happening. He's like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to go in.
Yeah.
And so Conor McGregor's walking around, and Mike Perry goes, can I get my face off with Conor McGregor? And I'm interviewing him, and I'm like, I don't know, can you? And like Conor McGregor goes, nods his head, come on. And like everybody collectively in our organization is losing their mind because you have a UFC contracted fighter, one of the most exciting fighters in all of the world right now, is walking into our ring.
Yeah.
On our TV show, on our event, our pay-per-view, and we're all absolutely losing it. And he gets in, does the face-off with Perry, and then I interview him. And one thing that has gotten me a lot of points with bare knuckle, like they tell me, they're like, you just bought yourself 2 years. Well, there's no chance we'll fire you. I'm like, all right. Because I asked him, I said, you've been sitting here watching this. What is it about this show that you love? And he gave us like the biggest endorsement.
Best answer. I
history.
saw that answer. Yes.
Yeah. So like from then on, every investor, every official, the president, David Feldman's like, what you just did there was priceless.
Earned millions.
Right?
No doubt.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was probably the best moment that I've ever had. I did a show in Abu Dhabi. This is another one of manifesting shit, bro.
Yeah.
I'm in Abu Dhabi, and I was told that Dana White was going to show up at our show, right?
Yeah.
Dana White, Khabib Nurmagomedov was going to be there.
Oh, what a name.
Which Khabib had showed up a couple different times. He's a good friend of the company.
Yeah.
And then Dean Thomas and Matt Serra, right? So Dana does his show looking for a fight. Yeah. Where he'll show up at like regional shows, and if he sees somebody that absolutely killed it, had an awesome knockout, he'll sign him to a UFC contract.
Wow.
So, anytime he shows up, everybody's like on their best performance ever.
Yes.
These fighters are like, holy shit, Dana's here.
This is my shot. Like,
I got to do it
now.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head, and a lot of shows that I've worked for overseas, not only do I ring announce, I do play-by-play in the exact same night.
That's tough, dude.
There's about 3 of us, I think, that have ever done it on a high level, maybe in the same night. So I went in to ring announce, and I go straight to the commentary desk, and I jump on commentary, which is hard enough as it is. But I'm thinking to myself, how do I get in front of Dana White at some point during this broadcast?
Yeah.
I got to at least talk to him once, right? You know what I mean? If he walks out of there, if he comes in, sits down for 2 hours, then walks out and I don't say a word to him, that's a major regret.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he shows up, he's sitting at his table. I kept walking by him 2-3 times. And finally, and you can see this because he included it on his YouTube show, I walk up to the fence and he's like maybe 10 feet away. And I go, Dana, I was like, I know you're looking for fighters. I said, but you need to be looking for a ring announcer too. And he goes, and he was like taken back. He's like, who the fuck is this guy? Like the typical Conor McGregor.
You got to shoot your shot, bro.
And he's like, well, dude, he goes, we're always looking for people you never know, man.
Yeah.
And then Matt Serra, and you'll see it on the video. It's actually really funny because we were in the middle of COVID. It was like 2021 or 2020. I don't know. And Matt Serra goes, this dude's hoping that Bruce Buffer catches COVID, is what he said. And, hey, you know what I mean? Which I don't. Bruce has been actually a really good guy to me.
Yeah.
Very, very cool to me over the years, so I definitely didn't want him to.
Yeah.
But it was funny. But then that happens. It goes on looking for a fight. It goes viral. Everybody I know that I've ever met in the MMA game shared it all over Twitter.
Yeah.
I cut out the clip, shared it everywhere, like sign Cyrus to the UFC. Get Cyrus in the UFC.
The man.
So then Contender Series comes around, and I'm watching Contender Series, and this is the best that I can remember this. And if I'm wrong, that's fine. People can correct me, but they never had a ring announcer, right? All they've ever had, they had Laura Sanko, who's incredible. She's the interviewer. She would interview the winners afterwards, but she would do the ring announcing, but she's not a ring announcer. So she would get in there and she'd be like, all right, your winner, so-and-so. Just like that. That sort of tone, nothing exciting about it.
Yeah.
To clarify, Laura Sanko's fantastic. Met her, she's wonderful. However, she's not a ring announcer. Yeah. These guys just had the biggest moment in their life on Contender Series to get signed to a UFC contract. And I'm like, this should be a moment. Like, there should be an announcer saying, your winner, whoever it is, like, big, Yeah. So I started reaching out to the producer of UFC, the producer of the Contender Series. And I'm like, hey, I'm Cyrus Fees. Dana gave me his endorsement. I'm looking for a fight over in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I was like, if you ever want to do a ring announcer, please give me an opportunity. Yeah. And they shut me down for like 6 months. And they're like, no, we're not going to use a ring announcer. We don't want a ring announcer. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I did it again. And I was like, hey, just let you know I'm still here.
Yeah.
Shot my shot again. So they're like, no, we don't need one. It was not even a week later that they emailed me and they go, just out of curiosity, could you get to Vegas? And I was like, hell yeah,
yes.
Get to Vegas. What?
What?
And it was like a Tuesday. I'm like, I don't do nothing on a Tuesday. Of course I can be in Vegas. And so then it was left to that. Another week goes by, and they call me. And the guy calls me, and he's like, okay, so we're going to do a ring announcer. I'm like, all right. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. I was slamming that into their minds for months, telling them they needed a ring announcer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it happened. And I don't care what anybody says. I manifested that,
There
right?
you go.
So I got my opportunity. They had me. They had Justin Bernard and a guy in Vegas. And they're like, all right, we're going to have you both announce. There was like 8 weeks left in the Contender Series. You know, he's going to do the first 4, and then you'll do the last 4. Mm-hmm. Or you'll do the last 3, and you might do the last one. Yeah. And I said, okay. So he does his, did a great job.
Yeah.
He's a Vegas guy. And I was told by a few people, they're like, it'd be good if you lived in Vegas. And I'm like, well, I don't want to move to Vegas. I don't. You know, I really don't. But it'd be good if you lived. I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, so I go out there. I thought I did a great job. But the one thing that sucked is I couldn't be me. So, like, they told me to tone down my announcing in such a big way because I'm an over-the-top guy, you know? Like, when you ring announce, you have a lot of personality. You get a lot of, you know, you're really giving it to them.
I know, and the juice is flowing in that moment. Like, the energy is flying, and it's hard to settle down.
And they said, you know, bring it back about 50%. Go about half speed. I'm like, damn. That's hard. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever done it at half speed. You know what I mean? How do you tone that back? So I went out there. I mean, I had great performances, I thought. They ended up going with Justin, which was humbling.
Yeah.
Because I always said, and I would tell people, if they ever give me a shot. Yeah. But they never got to see me. They saw half of me. You know what I mean? I felt like if they would have got all of me, then it might have been a different experience. It might have been something different. And Justin Bernard has been the coolest guy. He and I are friends. We've met. He's such a nice guy. Yeah. And he got the job, and he's working with them. But I'll say this. As much as UFC is great, all that glitters is not gold. Financially, it was not the best move for me. If I would have chose UFC at this time in my life with a family to take care of, it was not the best move for me. Yeah. And that's true to life.
And that also, like you said, required, hey, moving and doing all the extra stuff. And
not something I want to do, man. You and I have the exact same age kids. Yeah. 10 and 9, right?
Yep.
I don't want to uproot them. We live a wonderful life here. Yeah. I love raising my kids here. Yeah. I don't know that I want to raise my kids in Vegas. You know what I mean?
We went to Vegas recently, and we sat down in an interview with a guy named Overflow, and
I know the guy.
Yeah, so
very, very cool dude.
Yeah, so he gave us a little bit of his time. We stayed at the MGM, and we shot off the balcony and stuff, and he was telling us about it because he grew up there. And I'm sitting here like, man, this is crazy. This is awesome. It's like spend a week out here, but like I'm going back home, man. Like this place is wild. I was about that life when I was 25. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Not no more. Dude, that amazing stories, bro. And honestly, I love the energy you're bringing, dude. Because honestly, I'm one of those guys. Like I'm a football player through and through. Yeah. So when someone else starts getting a little bit of energy, as my shit starts moving, I'm like, yes, bro, and I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, so, and just so we know, we're filming this at 7:30 in the morning.
Yes.
So
it's early, baby.
Yeah. So we got the bucked up flowing through our veins.
There we go.
You know what I mean? It's all good, but. Yeah, man, the UFC was great. Yeah. It's something I could throw on my resume. Mm-hmm. And, I have great footage of me on ESPN, on UFC television, and that's great. Yeah. Was it one of my top 3 events? Absolutely not. No. Because it was just different. Yeah. And I felt like I couldn't be in the moment with it. One of the events, I had to do it on Tuesday, and I had to take the red-eye flight to Abu Dhabi directly after and go do a show in Abu Dhabi. Whew. I mean, so my mind was everywhere at the time. Yeah. So I felt like I couldn't be in the moment and I couldn't really enjoy it for what it was. Yeah. because you're nervous and you got so many other things going on. And I'm a type of guy where my mind never stops.
Yeah.
Ever. It's tiring.
I'm right there with you, brother.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I felt like I didn't get to enjoy it for what it was, but still an incredible experience. I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah.
There may be something in the future. You know, it's not like I left on bad terms, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, who knows, man?
Yeah.
You know,
dude, I love, like I said, I love your career path, and I love the fact that you use the word manifest so many different times. I think that's incredible. But what I do want to shift gears a little bit to where we're at right now. So you told me when I reached out to you, like, hey, I own an arcade, and I'm like, what is it? Like, what are you talking about? And then she got some pictures, looked it up, right? And when we walked in here, bro, I was like, dude, I want to grow up in here. I literally said to you before we started, I wish my kids could grow up in here.
Yeah.
You got virtual reality all over the place.
Yeah.
And like you said, you just expanded the back, and there's going to be some B-roll popping up right now. But
yeah,
all the way in the back, you expanded for more arcade games, man.
Yeah.
How did this start?
So one of those things as I've gotten older is I wanted to own my own business. Yeah. And it's like, it was for the dumbest reasons. It was like, I want my own business so I can just go in there.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Or I could tell somebody, that's my business. You know what I mean? Whatever it might be, a restaurant or a bar or an arcade. I love video games.
Yeah.
Always have, always will. I'm 41 years old. I still, on a normal day, put about 2 hours in. You know what I mean? But my
there's
kids
nothing
play too.
wrong with that.
Hell no, there's nothing
wrong with
that.
video games.
He's talking to his wife off camera. Yeah. There isn't. My wife's like, you're just a kid. I'm like, I am a kid.
Yes.
And I want to be a kid. I want to be a kid.
There you
know,
go.
The day that I stop being a kid, I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know that it'll happen, but if it does, that sounds sad to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it does.
You know, my kids are the age where they go and play games, and they play on their iPads mostly, play on the computer. And I get time with my Xbox, and my wife's swiping TikTok on the couch. She don't do anything like that, does she? Does she swipe?
All the time.
She a scroller?
24/7.
I mean, like, just TikTok for hours. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, and it's not my jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just put in like 2 or 3 hours playing Madden or whatever I'm playing. And so I love games.
Yeah.
And growing in arcades back in the day, I'm sure we're probably around the same age. Arcades were the shit.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Zero doubt.
Yeah, give me $5 in an arcade, and you just made my day. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like, I'm good. So I love arcades. And, like, the idea of having an arcade just, like, it spoke to me. I always wanted to do a business. Yeah. Every year, December through February is slow in the announcing business, right?
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of shows in the winter. You know what I mean? There's just not. Everything goes on pause for, like, 2 or 3 months. So I literally sit at home and start devising plans, right?
Yeah.
And I'll like be laying in bed with my wife, and I'll be like, we got to do a restaurant that's just all French fries. You know what I mean? And she'll be like, I need you to shut up now.
I need you to stop.
I need you to go to sleep. Will you please go to sleep now?
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'll keep working on it, and then it'll go away, and I'll be like, all right, you know, February or March will hit, and I'll start doing shows, and I have other shit in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
But this one, I went to an arcade, a virtual reality arcade down in Atlanta. I was doing a show down there, and we had time before the show, and me and my buddy, we went to one.
Yeah.
Because I had never done virtual reality before in my life, because you had to hook it up to a computer and all this, and I'm like, I'm not going to buy a computer just for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go try it at an arcade. And I was like, oh, my God. I was like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened in my life. You know? I put on the headset, and I had 2 controllers in my hand, and we were fighting zombies together, like going through this whole world, like fighting zombies.
Yeah.
And you felt like you're in it. And I'm like, can I do this? I was like, I went home and I immediately started researching, like, how much would this cost? You know, And I told my wife about it, and she's like, no, you're not doing that. And I'm like, but let's look at it. I'm like, and I kept messing with her and just kept digging. And I'm like, well, I could get a loan where I was like, I can get all these 0% credit cards. I'll pay for the whole thing with 0%.
Yeah.
Finally, she said, fuck it, do it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I started looking into it, and and me and my best friend passed away in April. We devised the plan together, and we did it. He and I, and my wife gave me the pass. We started getting credit cards like endlessly.
Yeah.
What you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Look up starting a business, and they're gonna say, write out a business plan,
Yeah.
take it to the bank, do all these things.
Yeah.
I said, credit card,
Yeah.
like 40 grand in credit cards. And then I just started buying equipment, right? Okay, we need six PCs. Okay, 6 virtual reality headsets. Okay. And it just kept on going up, right? We're like $50,000 in debt in credit cards, right? Interest free for 12 to 18 months. And my wife's losing her mind. She's like, what is happening right now? I'm like, it's going to be okay.
Don't worry about it.
I promise it'll be okay. But me and my buddy, we made it work. We got it open in a strip mall, and it did okay. Yeah. I started making connections all around town. I was a part of the community now. I have my own business. Like, I'd never been a part of this community before. I just lived here.
Yeah.
I became a part of the community. I started meeting business owners and joining the Chamber of Commerce and doing all this shit. And I'm like, okay, I'm a part of this community now. So I started getting schools to do field trips, and I took my VR stuff to schools and started hanging out with kids, which I love, working with kids. And it's like, and it all came together. And then we're in our first year, shit's jamming.
Yeah.
Boom, COVID. I'm like, oh no, right?
Yeah.
Like we already had just a kind of a, as our kids would say, a sus location, right?
Yeah.
We're like in a strip mall, no signage. Well, we had signage, but it was like not road signage.
Yeah.
And so like it was already hard enough, then COVID hit. And I'm like, oh shit.
No bueno.
But we had done so good at making the place look good that the mall came to me and they showed up. One of the representatives from the mall showed up and said, your place looks amazing. Like, we love this. Yeah. If you ever decide to move, let us know.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. But I had a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And our landlord was an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, piece of you-know-what.
Wow, dude.
Jerk, right? COVID hits. All he did was, like, delay our rent payments. He didn't, like, forgive rent. He just added it to the end of the lease. And I'm like, dude, get real, right?
Douchebag.
Total jerk, man. Dude, he was like, if I could give him a cartoon analogy, he's like a combination of like Mr. Krabs and like Foghorn Leghorn, bro. Like this southern, red-faced jerk that doesn't care about anything but money, bro. Horrible.
What a great combo.
So finally, the mall's like, all right, we're going to give you a deal where we will help you get out of your lease, but you got to get out of your lease.
Yeah.
This fool would not let me out of my lease. And like, I had to chase him down at his office because he wouldn't answer my phone calls. And I was like, hey, I want to buy myself out of my lease, right? He didn't know anything about the mall. I was like, I just want to get out. I'm done. And so I finally showed up at his office. And I was like, hey, bro, I need to get out of my lease. I said, I went to the secretary and I go, I need to speak to the owner, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, he's in a meeting right now. I said, all good. I'll wait. And so I was like, I'll be here in the waiting room. Let me know when he's done. Yeah. Well, he has an interview that he's conducting after that with a future employer. I said, cool, I'll wait. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I need to get a face-to-face with this man, and I need to get out of my lease, right? So finally he comes out 5 minutes later, right? All those things he had going on apparently went away, right?
Apparently,
so he shows up, and he's like, you can't show up like this. I said, bro, I just need 5 minutes of your time. You won't even speak to me. I need to get out of my lease. He's like, you need to get out of here. So I got out. They got me out of my lease, right? They're like, we don't want to deal with this asshole no more.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Mission accomplished. Came to the mall, even in COVID, and granted, around here, they didn't treat COVID as a thing as much as they did in other places. You live in Florida, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to stay inside. Cool. We're going wherever the hell we want to go.
In Florida, it was, all right, you can't go to the mall and hang out, so everybody just hung out in everyone's backyard and barbecued the whole time.
Exactly.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, we were closed for like 2 months here, and then everybody just started showing up at the mall, right? You know, some wearing masks, some not wearing masks.
Right.
You know, we took it seriously. My wife was at the VA at the time, so she was in the freaking trenches with COVID. She was seeing people die. Ugh. She was in the mess of it. So we took it extremely carefully. So we stayed masked up. We did everything safe, but we were able to provide a safe type of entertainment, and we did great. We doubled and tripled our sales in COVID.
Awesome.
So we ended up in our location here, and it's been great ever since. And then things started to peter out a little bit in the last year. They just kind of leveled out with the VR. And I was like, all right, we got to do something. You know what I mean? Because I've had to give raises to my employees. Typical business owner stuff, taxes go up and you take care of this. And before you know it, it's like you're not really making money. You're losing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's scary. So the arcade person that I worked at, we had 4 of his claw machines. It's like an arcade company that's based here in Tri-Cities. And he came to me and he goes, how much money are you making? I told him. He goes, if you don't mind me asking, I'm like, I don't care. I'm a very transparent person. Ask me anything. I'll tell you. It don't matter. And I said, he goes, put my machines in. We'll triple it. Say less.
Say less.
Facts. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes.
So we made it happen, right? Yeah. So we took a wall down. This is in the last 2 weeks. Took a wall down, carpeted the whole damn place, painted the whole damn place, ran electric, did all this stuff, brought in 30-plus games, and here we are. And it's like, and we haven't even got started yet. Like we haven't even really got cracking yet. But it's like it's automatically like leveled us up.
Yeah,
1,000%. So it's like
it's incredible, man. Just walking through here because as like we're sitting here and I see one. You got one for a motorcycle here.
Yeah.
With the VR, and then this.
It's like a slide. It's
it looks like a virtual.
This one
slide
right behind us goes completely upside down. It's a robotic arm.
Bro, get out of here! Really?
Oh, dead ass. Yes. You get on you're riding a roller coaster. When it goes upside down, that thing will go zzz and turn you all the way upside down.
Holy shit!
It's wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah, roller coasters. Full car simulator right behind us. I mean, and then stations on the wall, a free roam arena where you get to walk around in VR.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. It's really intense. And now all the games where you can win prizes.
Yeah.
Which it's where the money's at.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, we need to get a prize counter. We need to get you winning tickets. You have kids, that's what they want to do, man. They want to win these prizes. That, of course, you can go to Amazon and buy the same shit for a quarter of the price you just spent in tokens or whatever.
Yes.
But whatever.
Yeah,
that's what the kids want to do, man.
Kids look at the adventure and they don't look at the money part, as we both know.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I earned this.
Yeah.
Spinning the wheel and doing skee ball.
So
and shit
we had a cool adventure. We were actually in Michigan and we were getting ready to fly. We're getting ready to fly home, whatever, and we had to basically kill like 4 hours. And right down the road was this putt-putt, go-kart, arcade, one of those, and we spent 2.5 hours in there. And like you said, though, it's amazing. Like they could go-kart, they could putt-putt. They were like, no, I want to get as many tickets as I can because I want to get that big prize on the wall. And it was like, damn, all right, I guess we're going to do this. We're going to spend $100 on coins so that we can get you a $7 prize.
Yep, we've all been there before, man. We've all been there before. And when you guys go back, if you get a chance, you got to go to Nashville, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. In between, you're going to take I-40, or you're going to see Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, we did actually.
Oh, you've actually been to Pigeon Forge?
Yeah, we took a vacation there once.
Oh, okay, so you know what that's about then. Like there's that whole road of just putt-putt and go-karts and arcades. Like it is like incredible, right?
Yeah,
like it's so dope.
Dude.
Yeah.
So, man, again, like I said, this place is absolutely incredible. And so now that you've done the expansion and you've done this, do you have any other future ideas as far as where you see this 10 years down the road? Because, like, you're in this industry now. You're in the VR and the arcades and all this stuff. Yeah. Do you have an end goal in 10 years from now, or is it just, like, day by day?
The one thing, like I told you, I want the arcade to continue to grow and bring new machines in and have it be a staple in this mall. Yeah. That would be great. You know what I mean? I tried to expand to a second location in Knoxville, and it stretched me way too thin. And we had to shut down after a year. I was like, all right, I can't do this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be all these different places and commute and still be a part of my family. Yeah. Like, I found my breaking point, and I was like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. Yeah. So I don't know if it's, putting more arcades in or anything like that. I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's making this the best it can be. There's going to be more opportunities, but for me, being a part of this community is so dope. Like, it's so cool. So now, I'm in the chamber. I do a little bit with them, but I'm in the Rotary Club. Yeah. And I'm on the board with them. Using this as a pathway to be a part of the community has been one of the coolest things about what I've done. So, like, cool. just a few things that we've done, man. I'm part of the Rotary right now. So like we put up parks, we do fundraising every Christmas. I do like this gift card drive and this card drive, basically like from the grocery stores and from restaurants, and we pass them out to families that need them. We do that every Christmas, and that's grown from like 5 families to like 30 families now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have food over the holidays, you know? And then during COVID, we were out there taking meals to people, to the kids, you know, because they couldn't go to school, and a lot of kids eat at school. So they weren't getting meals. So we went to Walmart, and we would load up on every non-perishable you can think of, ramen and peanut butter and just all the things that would get these kids fed throughout the week, you know?
Yeah.
So we were doing that. And then, you know, doing things like that, getting on the board of like important stuff like the Boys and Girls Club, getting on the board for Coalition for Kids, which is an after-school program, being a part of that. If that leads me to more leadership stuff, whether it's, you know, getting on planning commissions, doing stuff with the city, I would love that. You know what I mean? If that leads to doing more stuff in politics where I can actually make a change, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I love making a difference. One of the coolest accomplishments I had my whole life was I was in 5th grade. I actually lived in Greenville. My dad was going to college at the same college I went to. And I won our city spelling bee, and it was like the coolest thing that ever happened.
That's dope.
I loved spelling bees back in the day. And so we didn't have one in the county. My kids go to the county schools. And there's the city schools here in Johnson City, and there's the county schools all around, like 12 of them. And I was like, why is there not a spelling bee for the county kids? So last year we started the spelling bee in the county and gave them a pathway to go to the national spelling bee if they want to, and gave kids that maybe aren't athletic a chance to do something, right? To be good at something.
Yeah.
So we started that last year, and that was all me. And doing stuff like that, that's kind of where, as much as I love being on camera and I love getting that rush, and I will continue to do that as long as I can, doing stuff in this community and doing stuff for kids is like, that's the end all be all for me, man. You know what I mean? Like, if I can make a real change and I can help people, man, like, that's the best rush you'll ever have in your entire life.
Yeah. No,
the best rush you'll ever have in your entire life is helping a kid out, man.
I agree with you. I think
that's it.
We have a lot of family and personal friend discussions about the future as far as what we want to accomplish and things like that. And I usually have 2 other hosts that work with me on the pod. But that's something that was part of our end goal, is be able to establish a section of our podcast or our business where we can either promote the idea of helping others, right? Put it on a main platform, advertise it, all this stuff, different things that people are doing to help their communities. And I love that. That's an awesome
that's
thing,
where it's at, man. You know, the one thing I always say to people, and there's so many things that you haven't even got to touch on, but like I got to go back to my high school just last year. Yeah. And they paid me to come in and do a motivational speech because when I was in college, I got to my senior year of college, and I screwed around in college and took my time, and I could always kind of glide through school, but I took my time and messed around and just played video games and did that sort of stuff in college and not really focused on my studies. Yeah. But my senior year, I was 3 or 4 months away from graduating, and I got expelled from my college. Woo. I broke into my professor's office and tried to get test scores. Or tried to get like the correct answers for like one of our final tests.
Nice.
And got caught. Yeah. And somebody snitched me out or whatever. The guy, it was me and another guy, he got suspended, but because they thought I was the ringleader, which I was not, they expelled me. Oh. So about to graduate, get my degree, expelled. That led me to going to China. My dad taught over there. I went to China and I taught for a year. Just because I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't go to school. So I was like, I went and taught for a year, came back, almost went to the Navy. I was like moments away from joining the Navy, except for they like didn't follow through on their promises. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And then started working at a strip club as a DJ.
Yes.
Did that for quite a few years, actually. And then And then I went back to school. So like I started working in the strip club, but I was like, all right. So I kept pleading back to the school. So after a year suspension, they let me back in and let me finish, right?
Yeah.
So I got my degree and finished that. Well, this all led, I messaged my principal all the way back in Iowa. I went to a very small school, like 50 kids in my graduating class, right? Very small school.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, just so you know, this is what I'm doing. I just messaged him. I said, and this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, would you come speak to the kids? I'm like, I would come speak to the kids.
Yes.
I'm like, and I almost said I'll do it for free. And he goes, what if we paid you $3,000? I said, what? Excuse me?
Yep.
I was about to pay myself out there and come speak at your school for $0, and you just offered me $3,000.
I'm there.
Deal. So I came out there,
dope.
man, and we did this. I did this really, really fun, cathartic exercise of telling my story to these kids, man. Because I got in a lot of trouble in school too. So like I got to tell them, it's like, you can screw up and you can still find your way.
Yeah.
And not to take shortcuts. And I told them, like, I thought I could take a shortcut. And I found out you can't take shortcuts. You got to work your ass off.
Yeah.
And you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
So I did. So I got to do that and speak to the kids. So doing stuff like that, man, that's the jam, bro.
That's amazing, man.
That's where it's at.
As we get further down the road, you're gonna find our stories. They're very, very much the same, almost.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. So I've had quite a few adventures. I've told a lot of people on the pod.
It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to call them adventures, right?
Yeah. So we actually. So all right, quick. This is quick. 1-2 name answer. That's it, right?
Gotcha.
And then I'm gonna go to our last section. Mm-hmm. If you could interview anyone, past, present, future, who would it be?
Mr. Rogers.
I like that. That's great. That's a good one.
Huge. I grew up on children's television on PBS. It's one of the only channels we had. So I watched all of them: Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Reading Rainbow, all the jams.
That's dope.
And to me, Mr. Rogers was the most genuine, caring, perfect human being, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all he did was want to make things better for kids and teach kids and be there and show kids they're special. It's like, that's who I wanted to be. So, and it's still, man, if that's my dream job, it's to be in children's television and help kids. I would love to do that. But it'd be Mr. Rogers. I would love to just get in a room with him.
That's dope. I mean? So now to finish up, we got two segments that we're going to close up with.
Okay.
First one is we had a big sign on our wall in our podcast office. Says bad decisions make better stories. So, which is exactly
that's so good.
It is.
That's so good.
We always ask every guest, is there a story or just an individual incident that you would say that you did that was terrible in the moment, gotten a lot of crap, blah, blah, blah. I think we might have heard it already, but it actually ended up being something great for you, or it turned out to be a funny story down the road.
Man, I'll tell you, man, we did just touch on it, but when I got expelled, I thought my whole world was done, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it wasn't suspended, it was expelled. I'm like, so you're telling me I just spent $50,000 in student loans? I went to a private college for whatever reason.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did. But I went $50,000 in student loans, 4 years of my life, 3.5, 4 years of my life, and now I have nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
Shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh no. But man, it taught me that. It taught me those lessons. Like, when I went back to school, I busted my ass and I knocked it out, man. The last 6 months, the last semester, I knocked it out. And when I started my business, I did all my due diligence. When I started my TV show, I busted my ass and I hustled. I learned the value of work. You know what I mean? That there are no shortcuts. You got to go get it. So it just taught me the biggest lesson of my life, that you're not going to be successful unless you work your ass off. Yeah. So that's what I've done. You know what I mean? And it might not be physical labor, but it's mental labor. It's hustling. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that was probably the one thing that happened in my life where I was at my absolute rock bottom. I was like, all right, man, can't do this.
That's it. That's it, man. No, I love that. We've had quite a few of them. Obviously, I mean, we're quite a few episodes in, so it's here in that one. That's going to be probably a top 3, because I don't think besides me, I also got expelled.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. I got
Let me hear it. Yeah.
So I got expelled. Yeah, I got expelled 3 times. So ironically,
Whoa,
I hold a record in the state of Florida, brother. I'm just saying. I got expelled 3 times from the same high school and still graduated from that high school.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. But mine was all like kid shit. It was like one time I graffitied the school, right? And I graffitied it with horrible things. Then another time you ever seen an airsoft gun? They got those little plastic things. Me and a friend of mine were shooting each other in the parking lot, and they expelled us. So it was just dumb stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what I've learned is you were trying to get attention.
Oh, yeah.
You were trying to stand out. You know what I mean? I did the same. When I was in high school, I didn't get expelled for it, but we went around in our small town. We had this lake area outside of our town where all these nice houses were, and we went through and we egged houses like bad, and then it went from eggs to like soda cans.
Yeah,
and we were like breaking out picture windows.
Oh.
We were doing all this crazy ass stuff, and then I was working my first job and I was stealing from it, and like I was doing all this stuff just to get attention, man.
Yeah.
Like I had this one moment in high school, my senior year, where this kid started arguing with me and said I couldn't drink a gallon of milk, right? And within, an hour. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. Like, bullshit, it's a gallon of milk. Who gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
You can do that. Well, I tried to do it in like a 25-minute lunch period, right?
Oh.
And I got to like this much left in the gallon. And I went to finish it and just all of it came out.
Oh,
Couldn't do it,
bueno,
right?
bro.
But I had the entire school out there watching me.
Yeah.
Like I did all this stuff, man, and you're just trying to get attention, bro.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And it may be wired in your DNA. It could be how you grew up.
Yeah.
Maybe not getting attention. Maybe growing up humbly or poor. And you just want something. You want something to stand out.
See that?
For.
And that's something we've touched on before too. I think a lot of it has to do when you're talking about that and the need for attention as a kid. A lot of that has to do with your personal experiences, and same thing with how people come up with the idea of PTSD as you get older. It's the experiences that you have as a kid coming up, and
for sure.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like I grew up, my parents were divorced, and I lived with my mom, and we were really, really poor, and we had tough environment, and
Same.
you kind of grow up on your own in that realm, and realistically, when your mom is working 2 jobs and she's sleeping the rest of the time, you're like, hey, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. So,
yeah, man. But here's the cool thing about all that. And this is something that I try to express to the kids, and I express to a lot of people. Who would have thought, who would have looked at you in school and said, he's going to be running a freaking travel nurse organization?
Yeah.
Who thought that?
Yeah.
Who would have looked at you and said that you had that job? Who would have looked at me when I was going to juvenile and spending 48 hours at a juvenile facility in solitary? You know what I mean? Who would have thought that I would do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And help kids and have an arcade and travel around the world. Nobody saw that. And that's the thing, is a lot of people don't give kids like us a chance.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
It is.
And I do give these kids a chance. And some people aren't made for school. Some people don't get it. Some people can't get A's. They get by, and then they become maniacs. Look at Gary Vee. You've seen Gary Vee before?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dude was flunking out of high school.
Yep.
He's a fucking billionaire.
I know,
you know what I
right?
mean? Like, it's incredible, man. And that just gives people, that's the lesson to be learned, is don't give up on a kid, man.
Yeah.
Don't give up on somebody. You could have their best years in front of them. They could, change the world, and they may just not have worked out in their childhood, man. They may have had trouble in their life. So, I'm real big on that, man. I just had another personal story. I have a little cousin, and his mom and dad were drug addicts. Bad, right? And like, I saw this kid when he grew up, when he was born. Mom and dad were drug addicts. He got big time behavioral problems. He was like 3-4 years old. Yeah. A menace, like a little maniac, like a violent kid, right?
Yeah.
So his parents they ended up taking him away, and they were gonna take him away and put him to the state. Well, my grandmother stepped in, and she stepped in and started taking care of him, like she took care of all of her grandkids. She took care of this little nephew of hers, right? Yeah. And raised him for about 1.5 years, and then found a foster family. Nobody wanted this kid. And I came back to just last week. I was in Iowa visiting my grandmother because she may be passing away really, really soon. And that little cousin showed up, and he went to a foster family, and he's 16 years old right now, and the kid is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, this kid is amazing, the most well-spoken, polite kid, but there were so many people that would not give this kid a chance. They wouldn't give him a chance. And I'm like, and I have a family member that wouldn't take him in. Like, it wasn't a good fit for their home, but like nobody would give this kid a chance. They're like, there's no way. And I even remember, like, me and my wife were like, I don't know, man. Like, we weren't in the time when he was that age, we were just married and we weren't really in a position to adopt somebody or take a kid in.
Yeah.
We weren't ready for that yet. But even us, we were like, man, you know, it's kind of scary. Like, this, he's violent already. Like, he could be going down a bad path. This might not work out for him. But now he is the most incredible young man, polite, on his way, straight A's, in sports, like, has his whole future ahead of him.
Yeah.
And nobody gave him a chance.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, we got to give these kids a chance, man. You got to give these kids a chance. You can't write people off.
Dude,
it doesn't matter. You can't write them off.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. You got me jacked up. Like, I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
fucking juiced.
Sure, man.
So,
for sure.
we're gonna wrap up on the last one because I know you got some events going on today. But man, so the last segment we have is called Spice of the Week, sponsored by Joe's Backyard Smokehouse. Love you too, Joe. Spice of the Week is something. Tell us something in the last week, big, small, whatever it may be, that kind of like a few days after you remember it, like, man, that was pretty dope that happened, right? And I'll give you 2 examples. Number one, my co-host Keon. I always give this example because I think it's pretty amazing. He was Christmas shopping last year with his son, and some old timer just came up to him and said, "You're not done, are you?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Dude, the kid, he's not going to be this age forever." And he slipped him $100 and said, "Hey, go get some more," right? And he was like, "Bro, this is dope." And my other example, I like the small things in life. Sometimes you're having a little bit of a tough week and can't sleep, right? Sometimes you go through, as you can see, I like food a little bit. I see that perfect like midnight snack. And then like two or 3 days later, you're like, bro, but that bowl of cereal smacked at 1 a.m, dude. It was incredible. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the segment. The idea is to get people to look a little bit more at the positives. You know, everybody has tough days. Everybody has, honestly, majority of the times, you're going through a lot of adversity. But it's those little victories that we're like, damn, that was pretty dope. So would you like me to go first? Or?
Yeah, go first.
All right. So I've actually, ironically, I have had a difficult week, man. We've hit a lot. We've hit an uphill mountain lately, bro, in all the business ventures, everything. So, but you know how it is. You got to keep climbing. So the other night, I was laying in bed and I'm just kind of being a little bit negative, you know, probably got to get out of my head. And next thing you know, she calls in and our kids come in and my daughter, she just kind of lays there. And we both laid there for like 20 minutes. And I'm just like whispering funny things into her, like trying to annoy my wife at the time. And I'm like, hey, she hates me. She doesn't love me. And Avery's just cracking up about it. And we get 30 minutes down, and I realized I had completely forgotten about everything that was going on. And I'm just having a great time with my kids, and we're hanging out in the bedroom. We're not watching TV. We're not distracting ourselves with anything else. We're having fun with each other. And that right there is that was my spice of the week. I just realized, like, damn, all I need to do is hang out with my crew a little bit. Yeah. And I feel pretty good, you know?
No, I get it. So. That's funny, man. You know, my kids are the same way. It's like sometimes I get so much in the mode, and then just hanging out with them for 5 minutes and giving them my full attention.
Yes.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in the background and they're doing their thing. Hey, you know, and you see them. Hey, love you, you know, and they walk by and it's cool. But you're not giving them your full attention, right? And they need that. And in this world, it's hard to give somebody your full attention. So anyways, yeah, I mean, mine is, I told you, man, I went back and I saw my grandma. So I had the darkest moment in one of my darkest moments in my life. I've had a lot of loss this year, bro. Yeah. Like in April, my best friend died unexpectedly. He's 37 years old, had a heart attack. Rough. Yeah. Really, really rough. But, you know, I'm driving down to Bare Knuckle, and my grandma had been going in and out of the hospital, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'm probably going to have to go back and see her soon. Yeah. You know, this isn't looking great. So then she's in the hospital, and I'm thinking, oh, they're going to get her fixed up. Well, I'm driving down to Bare Knuckle with a buddy of mine, and we're going to Columbia, South Carolina for our last show that we did. And we're halfway there, and my cousin calls me, and she is bawling. And I'm like, oh, shit. Did it happen? What's happening? And she goes, she's just going home. I'm like, what do you mean she's going home? She's like, she said she doesn't want to fight no more. She's going to go home and be comfortable. And like it's like the air came out of me, and I'm like, okay. I started getting real upset, getting choked up and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'm almost to work, so I got to do the show, right? You know what I mean? Because that part of me hits, and I'm like, well, the show must go on. I got to go at least announce the show. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not like I could catch a flight to Iowa right then anyway. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go work, somehow get through it. I got through it and everything, and I went back and saw her, and I'm preparing for the worst. The kids came with me. My wife came with me. Thankfully, we're all four could go, and it wasn't just me by myself. Yeah. But we went there, and I'm in my grandma's there, and she's in a little recliner, and she's smaller, frailer. I kind of had a yellow tint to her, and I'm like, I'll hit you. You're like, oh shit, like this is it. You know what I mean? And my wife, who is an absolute saint, she's a nurse at the VA, and she's like feeding her ice chips and moving her around and making sure she's comfortable. And she kind of had a rash on her butt and stuff from sitting in a chair the whole time. She's taking care of doing all these things for her. And my grandma was like the most independent person in the world. Yeah. Didn't need help from anybody. And all of a sudden, like, she has to have all the help. You know what I mean? Yeah. So all my family starts showing up, and she, at one point, like 2 days ago, she just goes, I am so happy. She goes, how many people in their life get a chance to see everybody that they love, to visit with them and tell them how much they care about them? She goes, I'm having a living memorial right now. She goes, I am the happiest I've ever been. Yeah. And I'm like, how can somebody be the happiest they've ever been when they're dying? Like they're literally, every day it got better. And my wife would feed her a little bit more and fed her some mashed potatoes and gave her a popsicle. And she just all of a sudden, like day by day, kept getting better. And then I came home. I finally had to leave, and I had like really emotional goodbye, and I'm hugging her. I'm like, okay, this is probably the last time I ever hug my grandma. And I'm hugging her and stuff, and I'm leaving. I'm all tore up, And I leave, and I come home, and every day she keeps getting better. Yeah. And it's like, it's funny, but yesterday she was eating a hot sausage sandwich with onion rings. Yes. And she was on mashed potatoes and ice chips. And now she's giving herself ice chips, and she's eating food, not a lot, but eating food. Yeah. And it's like, we may have months with her. Yeah. Who knows what this is? And my wife was like, sometimes they go to hospice and you think it's days and it's months. And it's 6 months and you just don't know. And it's like, she just needed to come home. She just needed to see her family. And like, she even told my brother yesterday, I feel like I have a reason to live now. I'm like, wow.
That's such a game changer, bro.
Yeah, so that it doesn't get any bigger than that, man. Like you caught me at a very interesting time of my life, bro.
Dude, incredible.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not a run of the mill week. It's opening a business. And I missed my grand opening because I had to run to Iowa to be with my grandma. Like I couldn't be here when we opened up the doors. Yeah. Like it's been crazy, man, but it's beautiful. And it's like, it's beautiful that you guys, and I've been bragging to everybody. I'm like, they're literally coming from Florida to interview me. Florida. Yeah. Like, bro, like you could have called in. We could have Zoomed this thing out. You wanted to be here. Like, and I commend you, and I think you're going to do great, bro. And I think you're 38, 39 episodes in. You're going to do incredible because you're putting the time in, the effort and the consistency. There has to be so much consistency in this game. You can't slow down. You can't stop. You got to keep going if you want to catch traction. Yeah. So like what you're doing is so commendable. I give you guys all the props in the world, man. And I think you're going to do great. I think it's going to be really, really good, man. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I'm not going to cry before the end of this.
But that's literally what my goal is to make you cry. Yes. No, it's not. But yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. So again, dude, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like,
for sure.
Like I said, we flew in last night. The last the last 16 hours of just being in this environment, in this city, being here.
For sure.
Like it's been a whirlwind, dude. Now this is going to go down as one of my favorite trips already. Because I love the story, dude.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, exciting also, but like, adversity. But it's just, like I said, this is going to go down as one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been a part of. And I fucking love it, dude. So,
and you're in an arcade.
There you go, bro.
Yeah,
thank you again, man. And the last thing I want to give you just 20 seconds, shout out anything that you want to shout out, get people to come into your arcade, whatever it is. If you can stay right there, man.
Yeah, well, shout out to Bucked Up.
Bucked Up.
I'm not sponsored, but I could be.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
One day.
With the Rocket Pop, it's legit. Shout out to Bare Knuckle. So I am wearing my store thing, but just so everybody knows, I have Bare Knuckle underneath.
There we go.
Lost my mic thing, so I'm always giving love to Bare Knuckle.
Yes.
But yeah, man, you can find me online. Saw it at Cyrus the Show on everything.
Yes.
I tell everybody time I do an interview, I'm like, man, I need followers.
I need followers.
It's hard, man. It's so
is.
hard to catch traction because I don't love social media.
Yeah.
So it's hard to catch traction. So give me a follow on whatever you want to follow me on. Come out to Vision Quest if you're ever in East Tennessee.
Yes.
Come and see us, man. We'll give you a good time, man. It'll be fun. But yeah, thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, bro. Be easy.
2 dimes and a token. You make Rosie.